Good evening, everybody. It's a late one this afternoon. Had a lot of work to get done today because I am filming my new product, Sexual Dominance Escalation, tomorrow. So I had to run around and pick up a few things, schedule a few things, get some errands done. It's going to be a big day tomorrow. Starting bright and early. Going to be doing all kinds of perverted things all day and filming them so I can teach you guys how to do said perverted things. But for today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you my top 5 book recommendations on the topic of health and nutrition. And these are all books that, 4 of these books, well, let's go back, rewind a bit. 3 of these books were sort of the foundation for my personal transformation, my personal health transformation in regards to nutrition, diet, and fitness. And the last couple of books are really good foundations for, well, one in particular is a good foundation for understanding the problem with our current medical system, especially the current Western medical system. And another one is a real eye-opener, which I only finished last week. And so I'm adding it to this list right now. So I will do these books in the order in which... what order should I do them in? I'll do them in the order... Yeah, I'll do them in the order in which I read them. And in terms of the order in which I'll do them in the order in which I implemented them. That's probably a better way of doing it. Because I think they're very, very useful. Hey, man, you caught the live stream. Congratulations, you glorious bin chicken, you. Alpha Sloth, good to see you, mate. So, this was actually, this video topic was kind of a suggestion from one of you guys in the comments section of yesterday's video. But you actually, whoever, I can't remember who it was exactly, they suggested I do 5 books on a different topic. So I am actually going to be doing my 5 best books recommendations on a few different topics. And this was the first one I wanted to do because I believe health is a very good foundation for everything in your life. I'm thinking of getting your personal growth book because I want to make Riley Reid feel good. Do it then. And if you have Riley, if you've managed to successfully slide into Riley's DMs, then good on you. She's a very busy, very popular young lady. So, let me start. I'll start with this first book recommendation, and you'll start to see a pattern with all these books I'm going through. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to show you some personal transformation photos. I did show some of these on the interview I did with John Sonmez, Bulldog Mindset, but I'm going to show them here again because I think they're quite impressive, and they show just how quickly you can change your body with the right nutrition, the right diet. But to get started, we're going to start with this little book here. This book is The Primal Blueprint. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Can I zoom in? No. This is The Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson. Now, this book is a really, really good introduction and a very encompassing introduction to the concept of the paleo diet and to the concept of primal living in general. Because he not only talks, in this book, he doesn't only cover a foundation for health and nutrition, he also talks about how you can implement various primal / paleo principles in your everyday life in terms of play and exercise and making time for this and mental health. And he goes quite in depth in this. Let's see if I can see but this is The Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson. Reprogram your genes for effortless weight loss, vibrant health, and boundless energy. And let's see if I can go to the contents page here. Yeah. So he starts off the book talking about his 10 kind of primal commandments. He goes about like kind of comparing how the average person in, say, the Paleolithic era lived and ate generally, and then compares that to the modern standard American diet and standard American way of living, or the Western way of living, like the very Western sedentary lifestyle. He compares the two and contrasts the two. And then he breaks through his 10 laws in basic sequence. So, eat plants and animals, avoid poisonous things, exercise, lifestyle, weight loss. And let's see, does he break down how far can I get in with the yeah, it's actually really good. Yeah, they actually preview it on Amazon. So excellent, you man. I'm glad to hear that. That's exactly what I'm looking to do. Change my body. Keep watching, mate, because I'm gonna show you exactly how my body changed in a second by following his blueprint. I'm going to show you that. Okay, actually, it's a combination of his blueprint and the fitness stuff in a book I'm going to review in a second here. So stay tuned. So you can't read this, but his so why am I'm not going to share the screen if you can't actually read it. His 10, to give you a brief insight into this book, his 10 primal blueprint laws that he talks about in this book are: eat plants and animals. Sounds obvious, but we don't actually do that all the time. Avoid eating poisonous things. Move frequently at a slow pace. Lift heavy things. Number 4. Sprint once in a while. Get adequate sleep. Play. Get adequate sunlight. Avoid stupid mistakes. And use your brain. And these, trust me guys, these 10 things, although they sound very simple, will have a profound and positive impact on your personal and mental health. I guarantee it. It is literally how your body has evolved to operate this way. And an important thing to note whenever people kind of make critiques of like the idea of the paleo diet or primal living, right? Yes, there was no consistent paleo diet for all of our ancestors because people lived in all different climates and areas around the world, right? So yes, certain people have been like certain people's genetic heritage is going to be slightly different to others and slightly differently adapted to different kinds of foods. For example, people like the Inuit, people who are living in the Arctic eating whale blubber are obviously different, or living primarily off like killing, fatty fish and like whales and things, are obviously eating differently to someone, say, on an African savanna. Obviously. But there are these principles are pretty general and pretty broad in their, or can be applied in their application kind of broadly. So it can be used to sort of fit in. But the whole point of it is that they're a way to try and mimic how someone would have eaten and lived in the Paleolithic era and fit that into today's world and the foods we have available today and the best choices to make accordingly. So that's kind of the take on this. We're not going to ever copy exactly the kind of lifestyle and exactly the kind of diet that they ate back then, because we have things like agriculture and we have basically selectively bred different crops to be completely different to what they were thousands and thousands of years ago. So that's not the argument they're making. What they are making in this, the argument he does make in this book is how to eat best for the genes that we currently have and the genes that we have evolved over millennia. The other interesting argument that always gets thrown up with like a paleo diet and primal living is this sort of myth that the people only lived to 30. You'll hear this all the time when you dive into this argument. They'll always talk about people only lived to 30 in the Paleolithic era, like cavemen only had an average life expectancy of 30. keyword average. Now, the reason for this, the reason for the average life expectancy being so low, being around 30, is because of a thing called infant mortality. Infant mortality was quite high back then. We have long gestation periods. With modern medicine today still has trouble with the way humans give birth. Like, there are still this is why we have to go to the hospital most of us are given birth in hospital because of all the myriad of complications that can arise. Because unfortunately we didn't really evolve. When we stood up right and our brains got bigger, the female pelvis didn't really adapt as quickly as that. So there is a lot of, like, even as recently as 100 years ago, infant mortality during childbirth and prior to the invention of things like vaccines and penicillin and modern medicines, young infant mortality and young children were unfortunately dying more frequently and at higher rates. However, with that being said, those that did survive into adolescence tended to live extremely long, 60 plus years. And the reason you know that to be true is a couple of things. One, the fossil record. The fact that there are fossils of people who are from the Paleolithic era who were from the dental and bone fossils that were found. You can do carbon dating and things. You can see that they were elderly. And the second reason you know that people live this long is because of a little thing called menopause. Menopause doesn't kick in until a woman is 50, 60 plus. So if the average life expectancy of adult humans back in the Paleolithic era was 30 years old, I mean, if the mean was 30 years old, the average very likely is 30 years old because you have to take into consideration all these infants that are dying, unfortunately. But once they get past adolescence, they're living until they're like, if they're living in you know, if they're not killed off in a sudden accident or killed off in wars, they're living till their 60s. And we know this because we evolved menopause. Menopause wouldn't have been able to evolve if people were dying before the age of 50. It's impossible for that to have evolved. So that's how you know that these people were living longer lifespans, because menopause evolved. So that's interesting. That's something I wanted to sort of nip in the bud, in case that anyone's sort of heard that myth that people were less healthy then than they are now because they were dying at younger ages. Let's catch up real quickly on this chat. Have you read Overcoming Gravity? It's a great book for helping you not to only change your body, but also use it in cool and impressive ways. I have not. I'll have a quick look at that. Overcoming Gravity. Neat. A systematic approach to gymnastics and bodyweight training. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Thank you for the recommendation. I will probably check that out. Getting adequate sunlight is a challenge for me. I'm here in the soggy city of Seattle. It's a challenge for not only for people who live in sort of rainy or colder areas. It's a challenge for most people because they live in an office all day, or they work in an office all day, or right now they're quarantined all day. Someone's house is on fire here in LA. Or maybe there's a riot, and I am not aware of it. Let's hope this house doesn't burn down. Eric, welcome to the chat. The Jolly Heretic does some great work on how improving infant survival odds has altered our gene pool. Very interesting topic. I would love to look into that. I think that's obviously made a like effectively now we don't really have what's it called, like survival of the fittest anymore. There's not really any gene selection in humans anymore because we're all surviving and we're all reproducing. Thanks to well, not so much anymore. We're not really all reproducing anymore, but there was a period for like about 100 years where we were all surviving and we were basically all reproducing. because of monogamous social structures, thanks to the Abrahamic religions, and modern medicine. So that is a very interesting topic. I'd love to learn more about that. Do sun lamps actually work to mimic sunlight for the body? And not actually. If by sun lamps you mean like tanning beds, I'm not 100% certain on that, to be perfectly honest. So that is something I would have to look up. Van Lee says it's always raining in Seattle. That is correct, Van. What did he say here? Getting eaten alive by a saber-toothed cat and those huge hunter raptor flightless birds was a factor in the past. Well, yes. So that's what I'm saying. If you weren't killed off by like some freak accident, they were actually living quite a long time. Yeah. Yes. Mike Green. How long do you live if you don't fap your way to death? Indeed. All right, cool. Yeah, exactly. We've ruined natural selection with technology. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you and me too, mate. I had that exact thought when I was around about that same age too. Yeah, about 11ish. Oops. Those terror bird raptors were amazing. I have no doubt. So that's my first book recommendation, the Primal Blueprint. And let me show you, because you'll see. Which one do I go for? This one. Let me show you my personal transformation after adopting this style of eating and this style of exercising. Can you see that? Boom. In fact, I'll just make this full screen while I'm at it. Boom. Actually, no, you can't see that word. So that's good. Yeah, so here we go. So that's me at day 1. Let's zoom in a little bit. Can I zoom in a bit here? Does that change? No, that stuffed that up. Dang. But what I will do is I will expand that. And I'll get rid of this for the second. Boom. There you go. So that was my 45. I did this in 45 days, right? In day 1, I went from being a skinny, don't get me wrong, you can see there's a tiny, tiny little bit of ab at the very top there. So I wasn't exactly fat, obviously, but I was a skinny, fat person. Skinny, not very muscly, no definition. And in 15 days, you can already see, like, look at my shoulders, look at my chest in particular. The chest is more pronounced. Shoulders and arms are starting to thicken up a bit. And obviously, I'm getting some of this, I'm losing some body fat around my ribs and my stomach. My abs coming through. Day 30, what you'll see is a huge amount of fat has been lost on my face. My face looks way thinner than it was. And actually, the job I was working at the time, I had one of the older ladies who was working with me ask if I was okay, because she said I was getting sick because I lost so much fat on my face. But this is what happens when you lose fat. You lose fat everywhere. It doesn't come off just one place. You lose fat everywhere, and with fat loss, it tends to come off. It tends to come off last where your body stores it first. So for guys, that tends to be on the stomach. That tends to be belly fat is the last place it comes off. Yeah, you're right, Udaman. Your pants are falling down. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Primark, how old were you? This is when I believe I was 25, maybe 20. Let's think about this. This was 2015, 2014. So maybe so in that case, I was probably 26, 27-ish. Probably 27, actually. Yeah. Yeah, this is more like 27 when this is happening. So I'm not a young man here. You know, I'm like I'm mid to late 30s here. What's the story of your left shoulder being a little bit above the other one? I don't know. Now that I'm looking at that, I actually don't know. Maybe that's just the way I stand. Oh, no. My left, I'll tell you exactly what the story is there. My left shoulder got dislocated. Yeah, I have a shoulder. My left shoulder has an injury. So that I've actually never noticed that I have a pronounced higher left shoulder. This is because these all happened. This happened after my shoulder injury, so that's why I dislocated my left shoulder. So that makes sense that there would be a slight imbalance there. Yeah, this is pretty good. Difference. over the course of not that long. So I was saying, yeah, day 30, you can see I'm getting way more shredded in the abs. My face is thinning out a lot. And then in day 45, you'll see that the muscle started to pack on. My shoulders and biceps are far more pronounced. My chest is even bigger. And then the abs themselves have started to thicken out. Right? And this, 45 days, gentlemen. This is all this took. Right? And I'll show you another quick image. I used these images actually for my old. I had an old business which was a paleo meal delivery business based around I saw how good my results were. I was like, damn, other people need to get onto this diet. So I made a business based around it, which I ended up selling before I got into pornography. But I actually used these photos as part of the promotion for it. So, but the other image I have here is actually kind of how it was done. Yeah, so let's scroll down here. So what exactly did I do? Oops. So I have, less body fat, more muscle, more energy, improved mental focus, improved digestive health, that was damn true, and reduced inflammation. All this stuff is basically what happened over the course. This wasn't just me getting shredded, it was all these other massive health benefits that came along with it. So what exactly did I do? I cut out grains, I cut out sugar and sugary drinks. That included fruit juice and fruit as well. So I cut out fruit. I cut out legumes, which include beans, peanuts, these sort of things. I cut out potatoes as well. I had no dairy for the first 30 days because I was testing for any intolerances. I did start, after 30 days, I did add cheese back in because I started to lift a bit heavier, so I needed a few more calories. And I cut out all alcohol. What did I eat? What did I eat was lots of nutrient-dense vegetables like kale, spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, a variety of meats like chicken, beef, lamb, pork, salmon, primarily grass-fed stuff because I was living in Australia where most of our stuff is grass-fed. Fat, plenty of it, so I had lots of olives, lots of nuts, cooking with coconut and olive oils. And here's the interesting thing. How much did I exercise? Not that much, actually. I was doing 2 workouts a week, which were 30 minutes maximum, primarily heavy lifting exercises with no cardio in those 2 workouts. And then I was doing 1 sprint session a week, which is maximum of 15 minutes. So basically overall less exercise than I was doing before the day 1 photo that I showed previously. So because I was playing basketball like a couple of times a week, so that's good 40 minutes of cardio there, and I was doing a bunch of other exercises and stuff, but my diet was shit. So all this was done through using the paleo diet. So that's why I really, really recommend this first book, The Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson, because it absolutely changed my life. I like this, John M. No potato. Every Irishman is flipping every table. Correct. They probably are. If I felt like I needed some carbohydrate, I would occasionally use a bit of sweet potato because it is slower. It's got a lower glycemic index, so it's a slower releasing carbohydrate. So it wasn't. This wasn't keto. This was paleo because I'm having carbohydrates, but in the form of vegetables. So it's not a ton of carbohydrate, but it's still technically carbohydrate. I do actually mention this in my book as well. Yeah, that last one is a promo poster for my former business. Yes. Paleo doesn't mean only meat. No, Mike, you might. Hopefully that just explained what I was. Hopefully I was explaining what paleo is by just showing that image. If you are tuning in late, what did we get to in the chat? This is why I can't do paleo. You cut out all the good stuff, mate. I thought that initially too. And don't get me wrong. The first trust me, the first 15 days, first 10 days suck. The first 10, 15 days is a lot of willpower to stick to it. But after that, you kind of don't, your palate completely resets. And man, things like cashews start tasting sweet. This in the same way that a bar of chocolate would taste sweet. Like your palate completely resets. And you start to love eating nuts. You start to love eating like these juicy, fatty cuts of meat, you know? So you'd be surprised. You'd be really surprised how quickly you can sort of adjust to this. So it's not really keto, although I was occasionally, I would have like eggs and bacon for breakfast a lot of the time. And that's definitely like a keto kind of meal, eggs and bacon. But, you know, then lunch was like chicken and a big salad, and then dinner might be like a roast beef with some roast veggies, you know? Yeah, so that's not keto, that is paleo. Because keto is cutting out all kinds of... I was having nuts and having, you know, lots of vegetables, and even having some like higher glycemic index vegetables like carrots and sweet potatoes. That disqualifies you from being keto. So this is not a keto diet. What I'm showing you. Yeah, you would have guessed that I was working at a lot more than that, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm far bigger now than I was then, but that was the first time I'd ever started like really looking different from working out. Yeah, stacking on like, because I lost a lot of the excess fat that wasn't there, so that the muscle that I was stacking on was looking more pronounced. Yeah, but it doesn't take that much work to see that kind of a result, you know. Yeah, so the diet is a massive, and here's the reason why I stress the fact that this wasn't keto, is because I was getting a lot of nutritious vegetables in this diet, and that, my friends, is what led to, in my opinion, and from what is kind of explained in these few books I'm going to go over. I've only gotten through one book. I'm going to get through the next four. The reason that I was feeling higher energy, less inflammation, better digestive health, these things were a result of eating nutritious, dense vegetables, and a lot of them. So it's not just keto. It wasn't keto. Yeah. Although keto can have this kind of effect for a lot of people, you know. Where we get to in the chat. Yes. I didn't really track. Good question, Arden. I didn't actually track my water intake, but I drink a fair bit of water. I was probably drinking at least a cup, 1 or 2 liters of water a day, probably. If I'm thinking about it, yeah, I drank a fair bit of water. But I think I also drank a lot of tea during this time. I think that was I drank a lot of yerba mate tea at this time, I believe. Yeah. Where did we get to? Yes. Yeah, you can't eat sugary sweets anymore. Fruit tastes sweet enough when you cut out sugar. Yeah. You'll start to see this stuff when you cut out sugar. Sugar is just not good. I mean, yeah, you can eat, like, look, you can achieve, like, here's the thing. You can achieve these results, with just a standard calorie, like by tracking your calories and, you know, calorie controlling. You totally can achieve the same physical transformation in terms of fat loss and muscle gain with just calorie restriction. That's totally possible. I'm not saying that's not possible. So you could eat sugar, and if you're, you know, balancing your calories enough, you could still achieve these same results. But, yeah, you're not going to get the same, all the other myriad health benefits that I experienced on a diet that still contains sugar and processed carbs and high glycemic index carbohydrates. You're just not going to see the same transformation in energy and digestive health and mental health. You're not going to see the same change. Absolutely not. Yes, I will link these. Good suggestion. I will link these books in the description when I'm done. Thank you for reminding me. So that was book number 1, right? The second book I highly recommend everybody check out. I recommend you check out all these books, by the way. Where we get to is this one. This is the Ultra Mind Solution by by Dr. Mark Hyman. Now, he has a very interesting story where he basically the process he lays out in this book is the same process that he applied to himself and to all of the patients in his private practice. And what he specialized in is treating various mental diseases which are a consequence of inflammation in the body. So we're talking about things like ADHD. We're talking about things like pre-dementia. We're talking about things like being pre-diabetic and blood sugar issues. But a lot of these things are like ADHD, depression, anxiety. A lot of these symptoms and disorders and illnesses are results of inflammation in the body and inflammation in the brain. And he breaks this down in his book in a beautiful way. And he goes through various examples of him completely curing people, and like ranging from adults to teenagers, of these various conditions. What's another really good one? What's the word for it? Like hyperthyroidism is another example he cures in this book. But he goes over a myriad of examples in this book of him curing these kind of mental conditions through diet and through eliminating various, basically doing like a reset diet, and then systematically figuring out which foods your body responds negatively to. And this is what he does with his patients in his clinical practice. I believe he works at the Cleveland Clinic as a leading doctor there, and he works in conjunction with the next author I'm going to show. Oh no, probably the next author I'm going to show. And it's truly astounding, like how much diet impacts your mental health and your ability to think properly, and your energy levels, and man, like we talked about, depression, ADHD, all these kind of symptoms, all these kind of conditions can really, really be tackled with diet and gut health and the relationship to gut health. Now, your gut is really, really heavily, incredibly linked. Your stomach, your intestines, rather. Your gut health is linked heavily to your brain health, because a lot of the chemicals that are things like serotonin, endorphins, dopamine, that you have receptors for in your brain, you also have receptors for these in your gut. And a lot of these compounds, their productions start in some way, shape, or form in your digestive tract. So, and the gut bacteria that live inside your gut rather, can dictate your biochemical, your brain chemical, your brain chemistry, your biochemical health, and your brain chemistry. So, all this stuff is really interconnected. The problem with modern medicine is it tries to diagnose the body as separate systems, when it really isn't. It's a very interconnected system. Yes. That's why fecal transplants work. Correct, Arden. Exactly. Yep, bingo, exactly, Mike Green. Yep, your stomach is like your second brain. Exactly. Absolutely. And that's why that's probably another reason why increasing my intake of things like, dense, nutritious vegetables had a positive impact on my mental health and my mental clarity. Absolutely. Where did we get to? Cool. And yeah, he also lays out, in this book, he actually lays out a really, really good guide for supplementation, for various different supplements to take in regards to improving your gut health and your brain health. So this is a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. Let's have a quick look at the contents page. Let's see what we can see on the contents page. Boop. So what he's talking about. Yeah, the accidental psychiatrist's approach to the epidemic of broken brains. Chapter 1, Broken Brains, a 21st Century Epidemic. Basically, that's his the crux of the entire book, is like fixing your brain. Talks about chapter 4, why you are suffering from brain damage and learning how to protect your brain. 7 Keys to Ultra. The 7 Keys to Ultra Wellness is his kind of. Let's stop sharing this because you can't read this. The 7 Keys to Ultra Wellness he talks about are optimizing nutrition, balancing your hormones, which is very important, cooling off inflammation, fixing your digestion, enhancing detoxification, boosting your energy metabolism, and calming your mind. So these are the sort of 7 principles he focuses on in this book, and how to fix them and how to improve them through diet and through supplementation, and a few lifestyle changes too. Yeah, he goes over a 6-week brain reset diet that you can implement. Very, very practical application in this book. So that's the second book I highly recommend. Fantastic book. And I am a fan. Yes, Juicy Box. I am a fan of supplements, multivitamins, fish oils, etc. Yeah. You seem to know your nutrition game, and a vid on supplements will likely get more use. That's a good point. Yeah, maybe I should do a whole video on supplements and things. Maybe I should. So to answer your question, yes, I am a fan of supplementation. Yes, and I recommend quite a few of them in my book. So obviously, and I take them. So, pollutant. Russia tested fasting people suffering from mental illness, and fasting seems to help a lot. Yes, I would agree with that. There's various reasons for this. Fasting also tends to help with. There's a word. What's the word? Like cellular cleanup. It kind of when you fast, it kind of allows your body to like. Any cells that aren't really 100% healthy and need cleaning up, it sort of self-digests those and does away with them, breaks them down and reuses the components. There's a word for it. Autophagy? No, that's not it. Something else. But someone might be able to correct me in the chat exactly what it is. Yes. Now that's the second book I highly recommend. The third book, and someone already did mention this in the chat, is this book right here, which is The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss. Someone in the chat already mentioned his slow carb diet, which he talks about in this book, which is if you don't want to cut out all carbs and stuff, it is a easier approach to losing fat than say going on the paleo diet. However, I'm not a fan of including legumes because of how they can screw around with your digestive system and stuff that around. The things I really like in this book, and I will quickly go through the contents page of this book to show you. Talking about like things like minimum effective dose and like the 80-20 principle. That's kind of Tim Ferriss's whole brand is the 80-20 principle. I'm just going to stop that. And I'll go over this again. He talks about his slow carb diet. He has a really good supplement stack in this book, the PAGG stack, which can accelerate fat loss. It's a very, very good, proven, tried and tested supplement stack for increasing fat loss. So if you want to, accelerate those fat loss gains, so it's really good. He talks a lot about a few really, really cool biohacks in this. He talks about like the use of cold water and cold showers, heaven forbid, cold showers, to actually accelerate fat loss. Here's a chapter there on improving your sex life as well, which is quite interesting. And then he talks about sort of gaining muscle and like a way of a style of working out for increasing muscle mass and hypertrophy. And that was the style so I used the Primal Blueprint's suggested like workout schedule, and I used the 4-Hour Body's style of reps and sets and up and down cadence time to cause hypertrophy. And so I incorporated those two into the sort of workout section. And he has some really good stuff in here about reversing injuries, because I actually suffered from some slipped disc injuries in the past, and this book fixed them completely fixed a slipped disc injury. And I was like having shooting pains every time, like down my butt and my leg every time I was sitting down. It was horrifying. And like 2 to 3 exercises that he highlights in one chapter of this book absolutely fixed my slipped disc issue. So there is some absolute gems in this book. Absolute gems. And if I'm being honest, I kind of based my the way I wrote my book on his style of writing. Like each chapter kind of stands on its own. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure style of writing. I took a lot of inspiration from this book when I wrote mine, so you'll see similarities there. And he also has some really good advice here on getting better sleep, which I highly recommend you follow as well. So, yeah, thank you, Danny. What I said about sugar and removing fruit juice from your diet is huge. If you're going to eat fruit, it's better to eat the whole fruit. Just the juice is refined sugar and no fiber, correctly. And it's a ton of sugar in one massive dose. Like, do you know how many oranges are in a cup of orange juice? There's quite a lot of oranges in there. So you're sort of concentrating down the least useful part of the fruit. Yeah. Exactly. Mike Green. Fruit juice goes straight to your blood, spikes your blood sugar, and can cause insulin resistance and hence hinder weight loss. Absolutely 100% correct. Mike Green, thank you for chiming in with that nugget of gold. And that's the thing. Like, most people, they think, oh, I'm going to eat healthier. They start eating more fruit, and they see no difference whatsoever in their body fat percentage. So, thank you, Alpha Sloth. Cold showers are fine, but if you start condoning knuckle push-ups and sun tanning your asshole, I'm out. Yeah, that's not me. Sorry, mate. I'm not going to be doing that anytime soon. I'm not going to be sunning my asshole. So I'll keep you around. Don't you worry, Alpha Sloth. I'll keep you around. Yeah, so this is kind of where. So Conan Roll says, for weight loss, you want to understand calories intake first, calories in, calories out. You can still eat like a pig, eat more food, and lose weight if you know what to eat. Vegetables are one example. So this is where I actually disagree with the whole. Like, I would actually disagree with your first sentence here, Conan Rule. For weight loss, you want to understand calories in, calorie intake first. I never counted a single calorie during my entire trip. I don't know if you saw this. Let me just, for those of you who are new, who've jumped into this chat a bit late, let me show you really quickly. Cool. This was my personal transformation when I started focusing on health and implementing some of the advice in these books. I never counted a single calorie during this entire transformation, in or out. So I would disagree. You do not need to understand calories in or out. So there's two ways of in my opinion, there's two systems for fat loss that work. One is the calories in, calories out method of tracking your calories, where you track all your calories. That does work, yes, for fat loss and things. Two is understanding your hormone, your body's hormonal response. So let's start that again. The second method is understanding your body's hormonal response to certain foods. And that is the principle that I've applied here in this transformation. Understanding your body's hormonal response to certain foods. And primarily your body's insulin response to certain foods, because insulin is the key hormone that shuffles basically shuffles your calories and the blood sugar in your bloodstream into fat cells, causing you to store more fat. And when you lower your insulin, you allow those stored fat to be released and burned up as energy. That's primarily what we're doing here. So those are the two ways, those are the two sort of models of understanding that'll help you to lose fat. And I personally prefer this model for two reasons. One, I don't like doing math and it's too much. It is even more, in my opinion, it is even more time consuming and requires more mental focus and discipline to track calories than it does to simply set up some arbitrary rules about what you can and can't eat. I personally think that is far less mentally exhausting to just sort of say, I can eat this and I can't eat this. I think that's easier, personally. And the second reason why I prefer this method is because of the myriad of other health benefits that come along with it. Primarily, mental focus, like overall energy, mental focus, and mental health, so a better mood, and digestive health as well. So that would be that's my take on things. So I'm good. I'm glad there's a little bit of something for me to push back on in this in the chat here. So it's good to have this kind of debate. You know? There's nothing wrong with knuckle push-ups, says Alice. I actually used to do. What am I talking about? I actually did knuckle push-ups back when I was playing football in high school. So I have done knuckle push-ups. Cold showers seem to be clicked up, even though you can take a cold shower after a regular one. If you don't jump in Titanic water head first, don't even do it. So the chapter in Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Body, that I just mentioned, he talks about the effects that blasting cold water, particularly on your upper trap region up here, can actually significantly increase your calorie expenditure, and thus it's sort of like a free way to burn extra calories when it comes to losing fat. So cold showers do actually have an impact. Now, if you're talking about like the whole Wim Hof method style of cold exposure, that has a whole bunch of positive benefits, but you do need to make things very cold. So it's a bit harder to achieve that with just your regular shower. Yeah. When we get to calorie tracking can be a bitch at first when you're trying to get info on specific foods. Exactly, that's my point. Yeah, you get to a point where you go, okay, I ate 3 eggs, tuna, a piece of toast, and you know the macros. Yeah, okay, so I see what you guys are saying. Yeah. Again, and that's probably the same. It probably, if I'm being perfectly honest, it probably takes the same amount of mental focus and discipline to apply the sort of primal principle eating rules to your food choices as it does to apply these like calorie tracking metrics to your food choices. I just personally find one easier than the other. And I am good at math, so don't think I'm not good at math, you bastards. Yes, Juice, you were talking about the Wim Hof version. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I actually went to a Wim Hof workshop here in California, believe it or not. It was fun. One thing I will say whatever you like about the stuff, it was a lot of fun. Let's get on to the third book, and this one is a really eye-opening book. I think you guys, and all these books, I reckon everyone should go out and buy and read these books if you really want to improve your health and your fitness. I could not recommend these books more. This one, Unconventional Medicine by Dr. Chris Kresser. The subtitle here is Join the Revolution to Reinvent Healthcare, Reverse Chronic Disease, and Create a Practice You Love. Now, this book, on the surface of it, this book is actually written for doctors. So it's written by a doctor for other doctors. That's the primary audience of the book is actually medical professionals. However, as a regular person who is often, as we all are, we are at some point in our life a patient of a doctor, it is very, very useful to understand this, the concepts he's talking about in this book, and it gives you a completely new perspective on the medical industry in general. And one of the biggest, most eye-opening things he talks about in this book, in particular, is the way that the American healthcare system is structured. And there are some similarities. There is a lot of crossover with the problems in the American healthcare system with healthcare systems everywhere else. But he primarily focuses on the American healthcare system because he's from America. But so the two really big things he talks about here. One, I'll just stop sharing this screen for a second. He uses one of the best metaphors. Metaphors? I think it's more of an analogy. He uses one of the best analogies I have ever heard for. Oh, is that right? Chris Kresser does not consider himself a doctor. Thank you for letting me know. Maybe that's why it doesn't say doctor on the cover of the book. Well, there you go. Regardless, he knows what the hell he's talking about. He has a practice here in California. He sees patients, treats patients, and he has a lot of glowing, very positive results to pull from. Let's just say that then. So thank you for the correction there. So he has one of the best analogies I've ever heard in this book in regards to the medical system. He said, the way medicine is set up right now, it's as though if you imagine walking around with a pebble in your shoe and feeling pain in your foot from the pebble in your shoe. Here's how the way modern medicine treats this problem is they prescribe you an aspirin for the pain in your foot. The way that you should treat this problem, and the way that Chris Kress's style of medicine, it is a type of medicine called functional medicine. The way that you would treat this problem with functional medicine is you would remove the pebble from the shoe. And that is a beautiful analogy for the way the current medical system is set up. So he talks about how, and this is basically the American medical system, how insurance companies have, basically, if you go to any doctor's office, the doctor literally has this book which has every different type of condition, and then the condition is associated with a disease, and then the disease is associated with a drug to prescribe or a procedure to prescribe, and then that is what is used. It's sort of like a codex, and then that is what is used by insurance companies to reimburse you when you go see a doctor, and your health insurance pays for coverage. So that's how the system is set up. The system is set up to go symptom and then prescribe a drug for the symptom and then reimburse. That's how the system is set up. And that is a terrible way to administer healthcare. The way that functional medicine looks at health issues, aka the way Chris Kresser describes in this book, and the way his practice is set up, and also the way that Dr. Mark Hyman's practice is set up. That's why I mentioned before, these two authors share a very similar outlook on medicine and on treating health problems. Is say you go to his practice, what he will do is he'll do a full body sort of diagnostic on you. So you'll get you'll get various blood tests. You'll get they'll do a sort of a survey of your general lifestyle. So what you eat, how much you sleep, where you work, what kind of work you do, to get an idea of like your sleep patterns, your exercise patterns, your potential toxin exposure, various other things, whether you're very stressed out, whether you're relaxed, etc. I believe they might even, depending upon your symptoms, they might even do a stool analysis, so they can analyze your gut microbiome. They might do a urine analysis. They'll probably do they definitely do hormone analyses from your blood work, and various micronutrient analyses from your blood work. So they take so you go into their office, you say, I have these symptoms, or I want to improve these aspects of my health. Cool. Then they do this full diagnostic to basically have a look under the hood, like a mechanic would, to see what the hell is going on in your body, where you might be deficient in nutrients, where your hormone balance might be off, where your gut microbiome might be off, where your lifestyle might be off, and leading to these sort of problems. And then they go about systematically prescribing various solutions to these causes of the problem. So here's the difference. Modern medicine sort of treats the symptom. Going back to the pebble in the shoe analogy, modern medicine treats the symptom of the problem. Functional medicine, as prescribed in this book, Unconventional Medicine by Chris Kresser, functional medicine treats the cause. It seeks to find and treat the cause of the problem, which is a very different model of medicine, and that is the correct way to treat a lot of these issues. Unfortunately, it's not a very profit-driven style of medicine. So a lot of if all medicine in, hell, not just the USA, but all Western countries, was replaced with this model of medicine, with the functional medicine model, billions of dollars would disappear from the healthcare industry. Thousands of jobs would be lost. Entire industries would collapse, unfortunately. But everyone would be a shitload healthier. So that is a really eye-opening book. I highly recommend you check it out. And if you are interested, you can go onto Chris Kress's website, I believe, and you can actually look for functional medicine practitioners in your area, especially if you're in the USA. But I think he also has a directory of ones listed internationally, maybe. Or you could just Google functional medicine practitioner, and then your where you live. And if you have some kind of underlying health issue, you can find a practitioner who can help actually get to the root cause of the problem and then help you. Highly recommend this. Highly recommend it. Thank you for that input, Danny. What do you say? Oops, wrong one. Mike Green said, Sterling, modern medicine is like this, never cure the patient cause you lose a customer. Yeah, kind of. I'm a med student, and you're somewhat right here, Mike. There are really great doctors out there, but the vast majority of them are mediocre / don't care about patients. Preventative medicine needs more attention. Straight from the horse's mouth here, guys. This is a med student talking. Yeah, perhaps physically healthier, but mentally depressed, since so many people would not have jobs. Very likely, Alice. So do this. Get the best of both worlds. Keep your own job, and then go get this kind of medical treatment if you need it. Yes. So that is the fourth book I recommend, Unconventional Medicine by Chris Kresser. The final one that I recommend, which I have only finished last week, is this book, Escalation by Anthony J. And this book was actually recommended to me by Mr. Richard Cooper from Entrepreneurs and Cars. And I believe he's had the author Anthony J on his show. I believe he's done an interview or two with him on his show, which I would highly recommend you go check out. This book, man, oh man, did this absolutely blow my mind. So, if you want a pessimistic view of the world, read this book. You are going to be maybe a bit paranoid, very disappointed, and kind of keen to solve the problem that is laid out in this book. So what do they talk about? What does Anthony J talk about in this book? He talks about the major estrogen mimicking compounds that we are exposed to regularly on a daily basis in the Western world. Well, not even the Western world, in the world, unfortunately, in general, everywhere we go. These are things like plant phytoestrogens, that are found in things like soybean, that are found in things like lavender, which is in like all manner of soaps, detergents, body washes, fragrances. So estrogen mimicking compounds, right? These are chemicals that are basically analogous to estrogen when they become in contact with your body, because they bind to estrogen receptors in your body, and then thus cause the same kinds of effects on your body that estrogen would if you just sort of artificially pumped estrogen into your body. Okay. And this has this does affect women, but it has a significantly negative impact on men. And he talks in his book, he highlights the fact that men's testosterone levels, if you look at the average, what was the recommended range of testosterone levels for men nowadays compared to as recent as the 1950s, the healthy range has halved. It's gone from something like, I think now it's somewhere around like 200 to 400 is the healthy testosterone range. And I'm not exactly sure about the measurement there. I think it might be nanograms per deciliter, maybe. I'm probably wrong. I know there's two ways of measuring T levels. And one is in the sort of hundreds, and another is obviously using a different measurement, so the recommended ranges are a bit off. But today it's somewhere around 200 to 400. In the 1950s, it was like 400 to 800 was the healthy range for an adult male. And it was probably even though they didn't really study it, rewind another 100 years or rewind another 50 years, it was probably even more. So what does this tell you? It tells you we're literally half the men that we were 70 years ago. That's quite depressing. That's quite a depressing thought. But he talks about in this book the various phytoestrogens that we were exposed to on the regular. Plant estrogen mimicking compounds that we were exposed to regularly. Plant phytoestrogens are one of them. Another really common one is I think it was referred to as atrazine, which is the world's most common herbicide. Is on damn near everything. Mold toxins, which are very often found in various grain products. We're exposed to them on the reg. And to name one more, basically the estrogen mimicking compound that is in the pill, is in the women's birth control pill, which then gets flushed out of their body in their urine and then ends up in the water supply and is then not filtered and ends up back in your domestic, like tap water and shower water, we are exposed to regularly, and it does make its way into your body. And so, that's just a fraction of what he talks about in this book, and it is really eye-opening. Explains a hell of a lot about why we have a sort of epidemic of soy boys right now. We have every generation. This is why older generations seem a lot more masculine than current generations. A lot of this is explained when you just look at the evidence of the things that are fucking with dudes' testosterone levels, and basically causing our bodies to be bombarded with estrogen mimicking compounds. It is really quite staggering. And then he obviously lays out some solutions. Oh, he also talks about a lot of plastics and plastic compounds that end up in plastics, which have the exact same effect on the body as well. So he talks about, in the final chapter, he talks about ways to sort of limit your exposure, prevent your exposure, filter out your exposure to these, and that can involve things like not eating and microwaving plastics, having various charcoal filters on your tap and even on your shower head. And one of the here's something that I want, and I want everyone to have this one takeaway now, something that is at the very end of the book, which I wish he had mentioned a bit earlier in the book, because I'm looking, like, when you read his book, Estrogeneration, you're like, man, give me a solution. There's so many problems here. It takes you the whole book to get towards the solution part. But there is one... David S., I know exactly who you're quoting, and that is a funny as hell. If you look that up, there's a really, really funny remix, like a musical remix of that quote in particular. It is hilarious. There's one thing you can actually do. Oh yes, I need to explain one more thing. So the additional problem with all these sort of estrogen mimicking compounds is that they hide in your body fat. They're hydrophobic. That means they're water hating. So they're hydrophobic, lipophilic. I mean, they like to be around fat. They don't like to be around water. So what do? Where do they hide in your body? They hide in your fat cells. So how the hell do you get them out of there? Well, one way is to lose body fat. That's what you got to get rid of that body fat. A second way, which he talks about in this book, is to actually go visit a sauna. Regular and frequent sauna use is actually really good for you, and it's really good at helping your body to excrete a lot of these toxins that are sitting around in your fat cells. So if there's one takeaway I want you guys to get from my review of this book, it is use a hot sauna regularly. I have a buddy who's been training in Europe frequently for the last few months, and one of the parts of his daily regimen was he would code for 4 hours. He's a coder. Code for 4 hours. Do Brazilian jiu-jitsu training with his mate there, and then they would all go. And they would go to a hot sauna, and then they'd go have some delicious home cooked food. I can't think of a healthier lifestyle, to be honest. But it was funny. He said this to me months ago. He's like, "Man, I feel amazing." I was like, this is an interesting observation. And then when I read this book, I was like, He's doing regular saunas. He's getting rid of every single... He's basically eliminating all these estrogen mimicking compounds that are hiding in his body fat. No wonder he's feeling $1 million. So if there's one takeaway you should get from this book that you can implement right now, and go buy the book because it is amazing. Highly recommend you buy it. Support the author for writing such a fantastic book. It is take away the idea of doing saunas regularly. So there you go. Where did we get to? Man, you guys chat a lot. I like it though. I like it. Yeah, this is the doctor's version of the red pill. I believe you were referring to Unconventional Medicine by Chris Gresser. That is correct. It really is like that. All these books that I'm mentioning are basically the red pill of health. They flip like the Primal Blueprint basically flips the food pyramid completely on its head. Everything we've been taught in terms of health and nutrition and diet is really off the mark. Really off the mark, man. And if you want to get a leg up in the world, want to improve your health, I highly recommend reading these 5 books. Yeah. These are on look, let's put it this way. These are books I am going to force read to my children. I want them to know this stuff. So I'm telling you to read them as well. Mojado, you finished this a few days ago, and we're all screwed from estrogenics. Correct. Unfortunately, you are absolutely correct, sir. Oh boy. Yes, correct, Mike Green. Yes, he talks in this book. He does talk about plastics that are in all disposable food, water bottles, packaging, etc. Yes, that is a very common source of estrogenic. Common source of exposure to estrogen mimicking compounds. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we're saying, normal. Yeah, like I said, normal estrogen. Men's normal natural. The recommended healthy ranges for testosterone is somewhere around here. Okay, and you're saying it's nanograms per deciliter is one of the forms of testosterone measurement. I think that's the ranges that I'm quoting. I believe that is the actual way to. That's the correct unit of measurement for the ranges I'm quoting. Yes. I'm aware of every woo-woo method out there because I am always open to ideas and test them out. Good for you. As a medical student, good for you, man. That's fantastic. The Wim Hof method worked really great for me for recovery after gym and with less inflammation. Yeah, I agree. Like the Wim Hof method, people shit on the Wim Hof method. Dude, this stuff actually his stuff works. There's always some element of like truth to a lot of this woo-woo stuff in like the health and fitness area. Not with all of it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here promoting bloody what's it freaking called? Where they take like a drop of something and then dilute it like 1 billion times. Somebody tell me in the chat what's that crap called? Hypo something therapy. Damn it, I can't remember what it's called. That definitely doesn't work because I'm a chemist. I have a chemistry degree. I can tell you that does not work. The dilutions they use. God damn it! What is this? This is going to annoy me. What's it called? Someone in the chat, tell me what this is. What is it? Dang it! What is it called? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's like hyper, diluting active compound medicine. Dang it. No, it's not hydrotherapy. It's something like homeopathy. That bullshit. Finally, that was good. That was driving me insane. Okay, homeopathy is total deniably utter bullshit. Here's how you know. Because the dilution methods they use, so they say take blah mil of active compound, say like, I don't know, lavender, whatever the fuck, and then you dilute it by a factor of 10 to the power of whatever, right? Unfortunately, when you dilute something to the amount that they prescribe in homeopathy, if you do the mathematics on it, and I know this having a background in chemistry, every say gram of a substance has a certain amount. Every mole, to use the chemical terms, every mole of a certain substance has a certain number of molecules in it. And if you take the prescribed homeopathic dilution, statistically there are 0 molecules remaining in the final homeopathic remedy. So it is literally just water. So that is one thing that is complete and total woo-woo and does not actually work. But going back to my previous statement, like defending Wim Hof and a lot of his stuff, a lot of this woo-woo stuff has some element of truth to it. Okay, I read, for example, the whole butthole sunning thing that someone mentioned earlier in the chat. I believe it was Alpha Sloth. I don't know if putting sunlight on your butthole does anything, but I do remember reading a piece of peer-reviewed scientific literature which actually talked about UV/sunlight exposure of the male genitals, like the shaft and the balls, leading to a higher testosterone production in the body. So maybe when people are sunning their butthole, they're actually getting UV light on their genital region, and that is causing a increase in test levels, an increase in testosterone in their body. So maybe their intention and their theory is complete bullshit, but what they're doing actually does cause something positive, right? So this is kind of my take on a lot of this woo-woo stuff, is like, well, maybe it's not right for the reason they think it's right, but maybe they're doing something that is by accident that is actually causing something positive and healthy, hence why a lot of people sort of report positive reviews of these kind of things. So take everything with a grain of salt, but there you go. Yes, correct, Mike Green. Talking about the estrogen bombardment we are faced with today, this is why men's sperm counts have fallen so much. Correct. Yes. Okay, your GP said 250 to 800 is what your GP claimed. 1200 is the lower limit for doping in the Olympics. Wow. Man, I reckon, like 1200 test levels, I reckon that's what freaking cavemen had back in the day. Like 0 exposure to all the kind of crap we've got today. Yes, Mojado, BPA, BPS are 2 of the plastic toxins that he talks about in ester regeneration that have terrible, terrible side effects on our body. And they're frickin' everywhere. Yep. Yeah, he also does recommend fasting as well. I think that's primarily as a means of accelerating fat loss. Prior to, I think he recommended, if I recall correctly, he recommended fasting prior to exercising to accelerate fat loss and causing the fat to be more primed to release some of its toxins when you do sweat and exercise. I think that's what he said in the book, if I'm correct. Where'd we get to? Get Alex Jones on my casting couch and interview him. And also rip your channel. Yeah, I'd rather keep my channel. As funny as it would be and as entertaining as it would be to have him on the show. I mean, Joe Rogan gets him on all the time, but he is Joe Rogan, so I'm not Joe Rogan. Although someone in this chat once referred to me as the Joe Rogan of porn, which I am very flattered by. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Get David Icke on your casting couch again. Probably gonna get my channel completely cancelled. Someone said, what did we get up to? Where did we get up to? Everyone's talking about Alex Jones in the chat here for some reason. Yeah, if you've ever wanted to see how much BS the food pyramid really is, watch the diet of a bodybuilder, a UFC fighter, or a boxer while they're training for an event. The diet is nothing like that pyramid. Correct. Atlas shrugging. Correct. Yes, homeopathy was what I was talking about now, the sloth. Thank you, Danny. You compliment me too much. Chemist, author, world traveler, boxer, parkourer. Not really. Porn star. Sterling is the epitome of the modern day 21st century Renaissance man. I actually have been called a Renaissance man by some of my friends before, and I didn't actually know what the hell that even meant, and then I had to look it up. It's kind of like a polymath, kind of like someone who's like dabbles in a bit of everything. So, Renaissance man, sure. Maybe that's what. Maybe I should like use that term. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna add that right now to my Instagram bio. Thank you, Danny. Renaissance man, because it just sounds cool, and chicks won't really know what it means. So when they look at my Instagram profile, they'll be like, Renaissance man, what does he mean by that? And they won't even have a clue. Just means I dabble in a lot of different stuff. Cool. You're talking about red light therapy, and apparently it does work, but I haven't tried it. Same can be said about putting your testicles in cold water, and it has the same effect. Really? Maybe this is also why cold showers work, because your nuts get... I don't know, anyone who's tried cold showers, you'd inevitably get cold junk. And it's like, Jesus. But I always feel fantastic after I take it. Whenever I have a cold shower, and I jump out of the shower, I am exhilarated. I feel amazing. Like, not just like amped up from adrenaline. I feel like mental health, like really happy and positive. And so maybe this is why. Cold water on the testicles. There you go, fellas. Wim Hof is onto something. Zinc is also very important for testosterone. 100% correct. 100% correct. Yes, I recommend it as well. Yes, Renaissance man is turtle chick crack. Yeah, I'm definitely adding that to my Instagram bio. Thank you, Danny, for the suggestion. Yeah, teabag your nuts into a glass of ice water and do it outside in sunlight at the same time. Do them both simultaneously. And then watch your T levels skyrocket. Huh. That image, it burns. I love you guys. My chat is the best chat on the internet. You guys are so funny. Seriously. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit the like button. If you're still watching, smash the like button. I always forget to remind you guys to hit the like button during the stream. But I think this is a very informative live stream, and I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I can't recommend enough you buying these books. What I will do is I will go into the description and add these, add the Amazon links to these books below. So if you want to buy them, you can buy them. And leave a comment below about if you have any other. This was kind of a suggestion for a video in the comments of yesterday's video. So if you have any topics you'd like me to discuss, if you've got anything you'd like me to do a video on, then leave a comment. Don't put it in the chat right now. Don't put it in the chat. Leave it in the comment section below this video. Okay? If you have any suggestions for future videos that you'd like to see me cover and talk about. Okay? So, that'll be done for today. Tomorrow I am filming my new course, Sexual Dominance Escalation. And it's going to be a very fun day. So stay tuned for that. I'll be reporting back tomorrow evening when I'm done. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.